Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. So excited to talk today because it's a lot going on in Minnesota sports. The Timberwolves, they're signing new players. The Vikings, they're heading into training camp. But next week, we got Max Brosmer joining us as well on the Ron Johnson Show, so make sure you guys don't want to miss that. But, hey, we got to talk Minnesota sports today. So we got that coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's a beautiful Tuesday. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. Sorry for all the worms that didn't make it this morning. Hey, but I'm glad you guys are joining us. I am so excited to talk a little basketball. We're going to talk a little football. And then in the Daily 3, I got some intel about this Jalen Ramsey thing that I don't think a lot of people thought about it. And that's why the Steelers are going to be one of the most interesting teams this season because of something I found out and I forgot about with Jalen Ramsey heading to the Steelers. So we'll talk about all that and much more. But I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. How's that work? You go into the app, you pick your bet. Just bet $5. You can bet more though, but bet $5. Make it something easy. You want to make sure you win. Like I said, my first bet, I'll never forget. You never forget your first. My first bet was Lakers, Nuggets, and I think I was getting 6.5 points for the Lakers to cover. I had to sweat it out though. Sam remembers that. I sweated it out. The Lakers pulled it out. My guy Brown pulled it out. And then I ended up getting that time. I got the 150 in bonus bets. And I've been using that money ever since. I'm looking forward to using it this summer because I'm traveling some more for softball. So I get to have a little couple fun bets, a little props here and there. And I think I might put a little bit on JJ McCarthy to do something later in the season. So, and also the Minnesota Vikings to do something later in the season. It rhymes with playoffs. But make sure you go to FanDuel.com to get started. As I bring my producer to the show, my co-host, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, Naz Reid, Julius Randle, and all made decisions. 2 out of 3 chose to be with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sam. And at some point, and we'll talk about this after. We'll talk about this in Daily 3. We won't spend too much time. But Nah decided to walk. Nah's going to another team. Also, I think Luka Garza, if I'm mistaken, I think he got a deal elsewhere as well.
Boston.
And so, this is what basketball, this is what sports is about, Sam. And we know this. In sports, you fall in love with your favorite players. And from a team marketing perspective, they have guys they know they have to keep. Naz Reid was probably at the top of their list. When you think about the towels, you think about Naz Reid Day. You think about all the media coverage. You think about 6'11" big man that can guard probably your 3, your 4, or your 5. I think they realize you have to have him. You have to have Naz. He's the people's champ. He's the Rock. Like when you think about the WWE, there was the Rock. You had to have the Rock. The Rock had to be a champion at some point. He had to own everything within that. I think Naz Reid is right up there for the Timberwolves. Naz Reid is a huge piece because I'm not gonna hate on the Rock and say he wasn't the best. I mean, I think it's a storyline, so they made him the best actor. But people could say like Stone Cold Steve Austin and all these other wrestlers, Kurt Angle, they were the actual, because Kurt Angle was a U.S. Olympian. So like they probably were the best, but The Rock was the people's champ. And I think that's where Naz Reid comes in. He is the people's champ. The people love Naz Reid. Like people, like it could be like something. I got 2 words for you, Naz Reid. Like it became a thing. Like people just loved him. It was a social media thing. He had towels at Fan Day. So you got to re-sign him. Julius Randle, we talked about this. The Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns thing, it didn't happen the first year. It took time. So maybe that's what Tim Connelly's looking at. He's like, look, The Julius Randle thing got us to the Western Conference Finals again. The Cat thing got us to the Western Conference Finals with Gobert. Let's run it back with Julius Randle, because if year one was successful for Julius Randle, quote unquote, and year one with Cat and Gobert was not as successful, and then later years was really successful when they got to learn each other, how successful can Julius Randle be with this group? Like, could it work and actually get past now you got the Houston Rockets, you got to add that with KD now. So the West is just getting more and more and more stronger, and again, I don't know if the Warriors are going to have enough. Like, I don't know if they're going to, I don't know if Klay Thompson's going to go back and try to run it back with that. Who knows? But I don't know if the Warriors are it. I think OKC is the crown. They're the kings, and you're going to have to knock them off. But where I go with this, Sam, I really like the Julius Randle move. I think he's an enforcer. I think he calms down the Dylan Brooks type of guys, like the agitators, as people call them. Julius Randle kind of quiets that down. Like, hey, you do this again, man, I'm a clothesline you. Don't forget who I am. And that's where I think, again, I joked about that when Rudy Gobert got choked by Draymond Green. But I feel like if he's on the court, Julius, you're not choking my guy. Now, again, I haven't kept up with this, and maybe I should have. Is DiVincenzo has not gone elsewhere either, though. He's still an option for the Timberwolves, correct?
They've got him for another 2 years under contract. He was thrown around in the Durant trade rumors.
In the trade, correct.
But he's still here. So really, it's the same team, except you lose Nah, and you probably elevate Terrence Shannon, into a bigger role, or Jalen Clark. But yeah, you lose one piece, you keep the gang together. So I guess the question is, Ron, like, can this core group take another step? Because they've opted for continuity, hoping for a better result with the same guys.
Yeah. So DiVincenzo, and I go to the DiVincenzo point to also talk about somebody willing to like stand up and fight and, be a part of this, like you don't want to go Pistons bad boys. Cause I grew up in the 80s, so I was around in that time, like 84, 85, when they beat the crap out of Michael Jordan, and then you go to 88, 89, I think 90 or 80 to 89, the Pistons were back-to-back champs. Cause I remember, I wish I still had that shirt. I don't know what size it was, cause I definitely can't fit it now, but I would love to. I might have to go on like some social media places. I know people sell that kind of crap, like old shirts that like they remake them or something there. I get worried about that though, because I've seen horror stories of people ordering from online stores that don't really exist, and they're waiting for years for their shirt to come, and they lose out on that $20. But I had the back-to-back Bad Boys shirt. I remember, because I've seen pictures now when I was a kid, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did. Like, I had one of those back-to-back shirts like when I was probably 10, 11, or 12. And so I think about that era of just enforcers, guys that are willing to fight for Isaiah Thomas and fight for Vinnie Johnson. And like, that's where DiVincenzo, I think, comes in, because he's going to run his mouth. We've seen that. He ran his mouth to the Knicks coach about like, oh, they let you run the team, you see what happens. Like, he's willing to do that. And then when it came down to the fight on the sideline, he was right there with the, holding the guy and him and Naz Reid. So I do like that. Anthony Edwards is the biggest mouth of the group. Anthony Edwards stands on business. I love that. Like, when he lost the OKC, he did the whole like OKC, KF or whatever, KFC, TLC, some OKC and 5. Like, he was like, look, if I'm gonna keep the same energy. I had that same energy for the Lakers. I'm gonna keep the same energy when we lose. And that's the best thing to do for Anthony Edwards, is own it, because you can't come back and say, hey man, where's all the hype at? You was all hype for the Lakers. Now when you lose, what are you doing? He's right there owning it. And so Naz Reid and Julius Randle, one, you got a 4-5 kind of combo piece. They can both play, like if they go small, they can go Naz Reid at the 5, Julius Randle at the 4. If they go even smaller, Julius Randle can go to the 5 if he needs to kind of push some guys around down there. And reverse, Naz Reid can be the 5 extended at the corner. We know Naz Reid loves that corner 3. But when you think about Rudy Gobert, and here, that's why I feel like that trade, they really wanted that trade to happen. I just don't know how Rudy Gobert fits, because he's not the Mike Conley alley-oop Utah Jazz Rudy Gobert anymore. Like, Rudy Gobert was a force at the rim. That one game he scored, 22 points? He's not doing that every other night. He doesn't have to do that every night. But give me that once a week. I mean, what do they play? 3 to 4 games in a week sometimes? Or give me that bi-weekly, like just like we set up bi-weekly meetings, just like I try to have bi-weekly, Ron Johnson guests in the Hangar Ron Johnson. Give me a bi-weekly Rudy Gobert 22 piece. Like hold the ketchup, hold the mustard, hold the barbecue sauce. I don't need any dipping sauce. I just want a 22 piece nugget from Rudy Gobert bi-weekly. We don't get that. And so I do feel like Tim Connelly probably is like, man, it's not the Jazz Rudy Gobert that I knew. Like, it's not the same Rudy Gobert. And they're going to have to deal with it. And you're right. They're running it back with the same group of guys. But I really like the re-signing, for the simple fact of what is out there. I think that's the other thing I'm looking at. What out there, other than Kevin Durant, you had a chance, you didn't get him, could you potentially bring in? I feel like Kyrie Irving, because he looks like he opted out. LeBron opted in. It feels like LeBron's going to try to get Kyrie to LA, but who knows if it's going to work. Maybe KD and Kyrie.
I think Kyrie re-signed. I think.
Did he end up resigning? Okay, because he had opted out, or he didn't. What he didn't pick up his player option. So maybe did he resign for more money? Maybe is that why he didn't?
He declined. Yeah, I think he declined it so he could sign a 3-year deal.
Okay,
for $119 million. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that one. So that's what I was wondering. So because when you decline your player option, the question becomes like, what are your options for a contract? For LeBron, a $52 million 1-year player option, that's a no-brainer. Come on now. It's 50 mil. Like, that's a lifetime. 1 year is a life. I mean, shoot, 2 to 3 million could be a couple years of living for most people. Maybe 4 to 5 years of living for most people. 50 million is a lifetime for most. I mean, think about NFL guys. There's guys in the NFL, like I think only 1% maybe make 50 million in their career. LeBron's going to get that for one season at the age of like 40 to dribble a basketball. And he's not what he used to. He's not 42, 44-inch vertical LeBron anymore. But so Kyrie to the Mavs with what's his name? Cooper Flagg, right? So you got Cooper Flagg, Kyrie Irving. Who else do they have? Like I'm wondering
Davis.
about what's the
AD.
Oh yeah, do they really have him though? Like he's never there
for 30 games, 40 games,
if that. It maybe half the season. Like the crazy, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, but I feel like I can already see Charles Barkley getting pissed off at the start of this season when Anthony Davis goes up for a rebound in like game 2 and he hobbles off the court, or he goes like, because this is what he does. He'll go for like 15 in the first quarter and he's hype and everybody's like, man, Anthony Davis is back. Second quarter, hurt my back. My back hurts. And he's limping off the court and then he's out for 2 months. And so that's where Anthony Davis is. I think that's why the Lakers got rid of him. I truly feel like that's why the Lakers got rid of him. But again, when you look at the West, you got OKC, you got the Timberwolves. I mean, you got to put the Timberwolves back in there. I think they're going to be back in there. And then you got the rest. It's going to be the Wild Wild West again this year. I think the Rockets are going to make a little ascension. I think they're going to jump up there with KD now because you got a lot of their core back. And Dylan Brooks is still there, right? He's still the agitator there, if I'm not mistaken, with the Rockets.
Yeah, I think you're right. I got to look at their roster, but I think they're loading up. I mean, they think this is their window now.
And they still have Amen. I think Amen and Azure. I think they have the Amen brother, the Thompson brother, whatever, the twin. So yeah, they have a good core. And that Green, I think Green or something, the young guy.
Was he? I think he was part of the deal with Phoenix
to get out of there. Okay, so KD's took him over, because that's what I was wondering. Like with the West, like what does KD? Because I mean, think about the Suns. So the Let's go back to the Warriors. Warriors KD, they got better. Suns KD, they got better until they ran into Anthony Edwards, and now. And I mean, everywhere KD goes, they get better until he gets hurt. Like the Nets, they were in it, and then he tore his Achilles. Like it's one of those things where, and I thought, and I knew this wasn't gonna. I mean, I hope this doesn't happen. Jalen Green, that's his name. It has him on here. I don't know if he's still a part of the team though, because this is the 2024-25 roster, so they don't have the updated roster yet. Jalen Green was so if Jalen Green's gone, it's going to be figuring out what that next piece looks like. But Kevin Durant is part of it. But in my opinion, with Nah gone, and we'll talk about that later, the Timberwolves, and you're right, they have to find another piece. But I love the Naz Reid, Julius Randle re-signing. I think that was key in order to keep the core together and be able to move forward and try to get back. I mean, they've been in the Western Conference Finals twice. I feel like as long as Anthony Edwards is there, they're going to be in the Final Four of the West. It's just, can they get over the hump and finally get to the finals? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I credit the Timberwolves for pursuing continuity. There's a lot of player movement in today's NBA, so when you can keep the group together, a good group for a couple of years in a row, I think that gives you a chance to show improvement. That's kind of what we saw 2 years ago when they struggled in the first year of Gobert. They stood pat, didn't do anything crazy, and then they were almost the 1 seed in the West the next year, won 58 games. I think that they could make a similar jump in the regular season. I think they could be a really good regular season team now that they've kind of figured out how to play with Rudy and Julius. I still have concerns about Rudy in the playoffs, what he's able to do, because I think that was really eye-opening. Didn't you, Ron, that like Rudy was almost unplayable except for the one game against the Lakers in the playoffs. It was very concerning when you face anybody that's got kind of a credible defensive strategy. Rudy gets played off the court, and that was the worry with him coming in, and I think we saw it play out. So I like him in the regular season. Rudy's going to beat up on a bunch of bad teams. Like Rudy can be, he'll impact the regular season. I don't know about the playoffs. It's going to be a tough West, like you said. Thunder are a step above us. We saw it in 5 games. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to get better to try and match them? You got to have strides somewhere. Ant's got to take a step. McDaniel's got to take a step. I don't know if Julius and Rudy can take a step. They might be a little too old. Yeah. So then, can Naz take a step? Can you get more from Terrence Shannon? You got to find small areas to get better with this same group in order to be close to the Thunder.
Yeah, losing Naz. So when you think about that you lose that potential defender on his cousin, Julius Alexander. I think that you're right. Terrence Shannon or somebody has to step up in that role. Now, I do think, here's the problem. I think Jaden McDaniels could give you that shutdown, Shea. But his temper, you could tell in that game, like he was so frustrated with the free throw merchant stuff. Like he was, because he locks. If you notice, Shea's great because when he dribbles, he locks arms, and once he feels your arm under, he locks, and then he flails and throws the ball up, and you could see him getting frustrated because the first time he locked arms, the refs, I'm thinking baseball, softball because I'm in softball mode. The refs didn't call it. And he got, he unlocked because the refs kind of like, we know what you're doing there. The very next move was he did it again. He locked him again. And then you just see him like shove him in the back. That was the shove in the back one. Cause he's like, dude, stop doing this. And he shoves him. That's when Shea has you. He's doing it because that's his game. If he can frustrate you and get you out of your game, that's what he did. And so I think Jaden McDaniels has to understand he's got to take, I think he's the one that has to take the next step. Like he has to become a third superstar because it's not Rudy Gobert anymore. I think Naz is a fan favorite in his own right, but I think Jaden McDaniels can become a 6'9" superstar with that team. Like you can have Anthony Edwards, you got Julius Randle. Your superstar becomes Jaden McDaniels. Your next star, what's the guy for OKC with the braids that potentially could have won MVP, but it went to Shea?
Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams. When you think about Jalen Williams, that's just a great pickup by the GM. People did not have him going that high in the draft. OKC saw something in him, and it worked out. I think Jaden McDaniels can become a guy like that. He can become a guy where we're like, wow. This guy's way better than we thought. Mid-range shot, 6'9", guards anybody. That's where he has to kind of take that next step is any pick switch off. I don't care if it's Steph. I don't care if it's Kyrie. I want the smoke. I want to stay because when you remember when Kyrie or Luka danced Rudy Gobert off the dance floor, Jaden McDaniels was the one that did not want to switch. He wanted that matchup with Luka at the end of that game. It just so happened that, he had to switch off. And if they had to do it all over again, I guarantee Jaden McDaniels and the coaches are like, dude, just once Jaden tells you he's still there, drop off. I know you're the defensive player of the year, but you don't have this. You don't have sight. You don't have this. The step back wasn't around like this when Rudy Gobert was winning defensive player of the year. And the switch at the top, it wasn't, people weren't trying to find the switch as much as they do now. Now it's nonstop switch. That's why I also call Cap on LeBron's podcast. I love LeBron. I don't know if you heard this with him and Steve Nash, his latest Bronism. He was like, what is it with ones? all the kids at the court now, and it reminds me of like, I feel like he should have like a shawl, like a blanket with like his glasses like this when he's talking, when he says this, because he sounds like an old person. He's like, what's all with ones? What's with the ones? What's all the kids playing the ones for? Every time I go to the court, it's, hey, you want to play ones? You want to play ones? It's not a one-on-one game anymore. It's a 5-on-5 game. Bruh, it literally is a one-on-one game. Like, stop the cap, Brian. We love you. Are the best player in the world. You don't have to get on podcasts and the cap. Like, you don't have to lie, as the kids would say. You don't have to cap. I don't understand that. He's like, it's literally about ones. Luka wants one-on-one. You want one-on-one. Anthony Edwards wants one-on-one. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dreams about, I feel like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, most people count sheep. He counts one-on-one matchups. Like, I feel like that's how he goes to sleep. That's his ASMR.
Gets him to sleep at night. Yeah.
It gets him to sleep at night. His ASMR is like just hearing the ball bounce with one guy's feet moving and not being able to keep up with him. Like that is his cows over the moon. It is one-on-one. Like, oh, I remember that one. Oh yeah, I remember Jaden McDaniels pushing me in the back. And then he just falls asleep. Like, I don't understand that. It's about one-on-one. And so when I think about that, the game and how it can be affected, you're right. That's why Rudy gets played off the court, because every guard probably is like, give me that matchup. You come set the pick. You bring him up. If he's guard, who's he guard? Who's Rudy guard? Bring him up. Bring him up. Bring him up. And they want the one-on-one with Rudy because he can't move laterally like he used to. And then once he's beat, he used to have the recovery speed and the length to be able to catch up and block it off the back of the rim or just block. He's not even doing that anymore. Like, he's a step slower. So, yeah, I feel like down the stretch, you're going to want Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, and then Jaden McDaniels with Anthony Edwards. So, like, you don't, there's no need for Rudy Gobert to be out there. Like, I'm going to go Naz at the 5. I'm going to go Randle at the 4. I'm going to go Jaden at the 3, Anthony at the 2, and then whoever can be my point guard, Mike Conley or Terrence Shannon Jr. Like, I feel like that's the down the stretch team, or DiVincenzo. Like, I actually probably DiVincenzo with that group, because as Mike Conley, depending on what quarter it is, Mike Conley, you got to put him on a pitch count. So yeah, you're right. Rudy Gobert gets played off the floor. It's apparent. And so I think the next step is going to be, can Naz Reid, because with this money, you don't sign this money to be a 6-man. I feel like this is like the future. Like, this is future money to say, okay, we got maybe one. What is Rudy Gobert left? 2 years?
2 more for him. Now Naz is around for 5. Randall's around for 3. So I don't know if, I'm not sure I actually see the path for Naz to start in the next couple of years, unless there's an injury. He might just be the 6th guy and play a bunch of minutes.
But or it could be another move coming where it's like, look, we might not get max value to trade Rudy. And I don't know if he has a trade clause or where he doesn't want to go, but maybe there is another path to just get rid of Rudy and say, hey, look, let's go get another point guard, or let's get some assets. Let's give Rudy to the worst team, knowing that could be a 1st-round pick, sneaky. Like, let's catch somebody when they're vulnerable and they're not paying attention, and they're like, you know what, man, we'll give you Rudy Gobert for your 1st-round pick, man. Like, you don't want that pick, do you? I mean, nobody's going to fall for that. I'm not lying. I'm dreaming at this point. But you never know. You never know. Somebody might fall for it. They might be on the apron of, luxury tax and all stuff, and they don't even want the potentials out there. Like, could be a team that's like, look, we don't need a guard, and a guard is a top pick this year. Timberwolves, you want a guard? Mike Conley's about to be done. Hey, do you want this? Yep, we'll take this. We want the kid out of France. We want the new point guard. I don't know. I don't even know who's in this draft coming up next year. But, I'm just thinking, I feel like the Naz, I mean, that's a lot of money for a 6-man, but you're right. I mean, these guys are billionaires. They could do whatever they want as far as owners. They kind of have an idea what they want to do with the salary cap. I just worry, are you wasting Naz Reid on the bench because you're being loyal to Rudy Gobert, who doesn't, like you say, he doesn't give you much. Like, they're not giving it to the center in the post anymore. It's a change game. It's not the game it used to be when, like, Bill Cartwright and Hakeem Olajuwon were giving you, shoulder wiggle. It's not that anymore. So it'll be interesting to see, though. I think the Timberwolves, in my opinion, I think they're 2 behind the OKC. I still think, like, with their core, like, the only thing they lost was Nah. I think they're still a top team. So, but you know what? We got to get over to the Vikings content, people, because we're going to talk a little Vikings training camp. Sam has a question for me, and we'll do that after word from our sponsors.
We are brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel Sportsbook. Summer sports in full swing. That's baseball. It's also WNBA, where there is a massive game at Target Center tonight. Lynx for the Commissioner's Cup Championship, hosting the Indiana Fever and possibly Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has a groin injury, I think. We're not sure if she's playing. And as a result, the Lynx are favored by 6.5. You can bet that or a -290 money line on the Lynx at Target Center tonight. The crowd is going to be lit. If you're new to FanDuel, you can bet $5 on that game if you want. And if you win, you get $150 in bonus bets. Again, the app is super easy to use. You can put together same-game parlays. There's live wagering options. Every sport that's going on right now has wagering value for you. Open the FanDuel app today. Check out their great deals and promotions. And bet 5, get 150 at FanDuel.com. And make every moment more today.
So, Sam, Minnesota Vikings heading to training camp. We have Max Brosmer on. We'll air that interview next week. He talked about training camp, getting ready for training camp, talked about OTAs, JJ McCarthy, and all the guys. And he talked about extending plays. He talked about JJ McCarthy, his ability to extend plays and give guys looks. Sounds like to me, the defensive line is moving. They're moving around. With that said, what's the question of the day?
Yeah, Ron, and that defensive line's getting their cardio in. Can they be a top 5 defensive line? Let's say top 5 in sacks this year, now that they have Gernard and Van Ginkel on the edges, Dallas Turner working in the rotation, and now Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave manning the middle. Is this a top 5 defensive line in the league?
Okay, so on paper, this is on paper, people. Don't hold me to this. On paper, it feels like yes, on paper. The only reason I say that too is because when you think about the way he deploys the linebackers, because if you're talking about getting after the quarterback, stopping the run, you have to throw Blake Cashman in that. Because when you think about, he always sends, so he sends 3 D linemen, one of the linebackers, and Cashman usually goes. Every once in a while, Ivan Pace will go. Looks like Kobe King is going to be a little bit of that because he can rush off the edge. If you watch his work with Penn State, he was an edge rusher at times, standing up. And so I could see Kobe King filling that role. I'm pretty sure that was the reason why the Vikings drafted him too. When you watch him get up to the quarterback standing up, that's a big key for the linebacker walking up into the gap. Can you get off the ball? Can you defeat a offensive lineman and get to the quarterback? Kobe King is built like a linebacker. Like he's built like Blake Cashman, similar body type, a little bit stronger looking, but built like that, built like a true. So does that bolster the defensive line and make it better? Yeah, 100%. Top 5. So when you think about defensive line, and I had a list here. So you think about defensive line.
And I looked it up too, Ron. Last year in sacks, they were tied for 4th. So I guess the question is, can they stay in the top 5? Because they had 49 sacks last year, tied for 4th with Houston.
And so when you look at the 2025 defensive line rankings, right? So TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Steele. Have you seen that list, by the way? Sorry, I don't want to ruin that for you. PFF.
No.
2025. Okay.
No.
So yeah, I saw that question and I'm like, what is the world saying right now? And so here's the thing. Number 1, I gave it away, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not going to have go because we'll be here forever. But who do you think is number 2? Any idea?
Defensive. So this is all defensive line, not just like edge rushers, just defensive line rankings.
Defensive
number
line
1 is Pittsburgh.
Yep.
You said
heading into 2025. So this is just
Houston with Daniil and
they're
Anderson?
4th. Houston's 4th.
Okay. Broncos had a lot of sacks last year.
Nope.
Okay.
Broncos are 8th in the top 10.
Top 10. Ravens.
Nope. Ravens are 10th. I'll put it like this. The Minnesota Vikings are not in the top 15.
What? That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, I'll do one more guess.
Yep.
Eagles. Eagles
Yep,
are always
you got it.
Yeah.
Eagles are 2. The Minnesota Vikings, Sam. So they're not in the top 15. Do you want to guess where they fall?
It's nonsense. 21st.
16th. So they're right outside the 15th.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. So they use all these, you know how they are, man. They use all these numbers. Their overall grade is 81. Sorry, Jonathan Gennard's overall grade was 81.1. Andrew Van Ginkel's was 71.4. Dallas Turner. Interior, so they say on the interior Vikings defensive line, look for veteran additions, Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen to find their old form. They ranked, so Turner, Minnesota's first round pick last year, he ranked 63rd with a 64.1. So basically, they're just using numbers, doing math, and putting these out there. Because in the top 5, so you got the Eagles 2, you got the Giants because they have Kayvon Thibodeau and they drafted Abdul Carter. Again, you have no idea what Abdul Carter is going to be. You could have said the same thing after the Vikings drafted Turner. Like you would have said, like, oh man, these linebackers are going to get up to the quarterback now. Houston Texans at 4, Buffalo Bills at 5 with L. Oliver, Jaquan Jones, Joey Bosa, because they signed veteran edge rusher Joey Bosa. So that's why they're getting the nod now. They also have Greg Rousseau. And so you got Greg Rousseau opposite Joey Bosa. That's, if they're in their old forms, they could be really good. You got our NFC North foe at 6. So you got, and they're saying Aiden Hutchinson, a big caveat, was on track to be Defensive Player of the Year in 2024 and led all edge rushers with a 94.9 overall grade before getting hurt. So, again, they put the Lions in there. They put the Cleveland Browns in there. The Broncos are 8. LA Rams. They're saying Jared Verse is the big reason for that, and Brandon Fisk. The amount of pressure they generated. And then the Baltimore Ravens with David Ojobu, Kyle Van Noy, and Owe. So that's where and then, of course, you got the Dolphins, you got the Cowboys, you got the Patriots who are coming to town. They got the Patriots at 13th. They're saying because they picked up edge rushers Milton Williams from the Eagles. So they're trying to give them, a little bit of heads there. And then the Tennessee Titans and Kansas City Chiefs for Chandler Jones are 15th. So the Vikings are getting no love. So that's why I struggle to say they're top 5, because I'm looking at this and I was really skewed by these numbers. But here's where I go with this. Everybody's caveat in this dictates health. Can you stay healthy? I think the Minnesota Vikings with Van Ginkel and Grenard are going to stay healthy. I think the new defensive line is the question. Can these new guys stay healthy? If so, I would say yes, they're going to be a top 5 team. Now, because you're saying top 5, you were talking pressures, they were 4th. PFF puts the run game into this as well, as far as generating pressure. But again, I think this defensive line could be. That's my thought. But right now, PFF has them at 16th. So the minute I saw that, when you said top 5, I'm like, dang, they don't even have them in the top 10. I mean, what are your thoughts to that?
Yeah, I don't understand where it's coming from. I mean, I know that Hargrave and Allen may not be in their prime, but Javon Hargrave in 2022 had 11 sacks. Like, even if he just generates 7 or 8, that's an outstanding season from a defensive tackle. Let's look at Jonathan Allen's potential, And what is he, 30? He's had a 9-sack season before, 7.5, 8, 6. I mean, his average per year is 7 sacks. So you're telling me that you're not going to get, between the two of them, you're probably going to get between 10 and 15 sacks, and that's being modest. You're going to get 10 to 15 sacks from just 2 defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Then, Ron, you got to add another dozen from Van Ginkel and Grenard. Well, suddenly you're already around 40 sacks, and that's just from your core defensive linemen. So I don't know, you can get into the run game or whatever, but in terms of pressuring the quarterback, getting the quarterback on the ground,
right,
this has got to be a top 5 unit, and that's going to help the coverage. It's going to help everybody. It's going to help your run game. That's going to have such a positive effect to have that kind of push from the interior. And I think they're underestimating what the Vikings added from last year with these new guys in the middle. And don't forget about Harrison Phillips. Not too bad either.
Correct. And so here's how they did it, though. So they used the Bears at 18th. So the Bears aren't too far from the Vikings, which I'm like, okay, you're nuts. But the Bears are 18th. And here's how they did it, because they showed the Bears metrics to show them where they got to their number. So I'm gonna say his name wrong, but Adeyingbo, the defensive end, right defensive end, he's a 66.1 by their metrics, 54th. You got Dexter Senior, so that's Jervon, Dexter Senior.
Yep.
69.7. You got Grady Jarrett, who they picked up in the interior line. So he's the left defensive tackle. He's a 62.1. And then you got Sweat, who is at a 65.7. And that got them their number to be at and then they said Dexter Senior's overall was 70.3. So his overall was 70.3. So they use run game and pass game and sacks to come up with this format of how they did it. And they said, like, in 2024, Chicago's defense generated pressure on 34.2% of the pass plays without blitzing, which was 6th in the NFL. Again, they're going to find ways and numbers to throw stuff around. For the Minnesota Vikings, it says it may not be easy for him to get on the field, though, as Jonathan Gennard, because they talk about Turner. This is about Turner. They're saying Jonathan Gennard and Van Ginkel, were among the 33 highest edge defenders last season. So they're giving the nod to those two, but they want to knock them down. Now, here's the thing, though, Sam, and we know this. I'll say this every day, all day, nonstop. The Minnesota Vikings fans online are some of the loudest and proudest I've ever seen. And a lot of these pundits know that. That's why Dan Orlovsky loves to talk up JJ McCarthy, because he realizes the engagement he gets from Vikings fans. He realizes, like, you don't see, like, if somebody says Patrick Mahomes is great, you don't see Kansas City Chiefs videos all over the place. You don't see them being retweeted. You don't see them being reposted. If you say JJ McCarthy ties his shoes faster than every other quarterback that was out there at the combine, it's going online. It's going to go viral. People are going to talk about, like, look at his dexterity. Look at his finger placement. Look at the strength of his toenails. Like, they know the Minnesota Vikings fans are some of the loudest and proudest. Just like the Packers. I think Caleb Williams and the Bears is sensational. Like that gets sensationalized. It comes down to that. It comes. So I think a little bit of the not hate, snubbing, comes from that. Like pushing Harrison Smith and Josh Metellus not in the top 15 safeties in the NFL. You know what you're doing. You're trying to get engagement. You're trying to get a rise out of people. Sacks, and again, I go back to the run game. We know the Vikings defensive run game struggled a little bit at times. So that's part of this. So that's why I think they're not in that top 5. But if you say getting after the quarterback, 100% top 5. Top 5, no question in my mind. Overall, when I look at the run game, because it is a part of it, and I had a notebook over here for last year's stats. I keep all my notebooks. Like, I got notebooks from the last 11 years. It's fun to actually go back and look at some of my stats with, like, Sam Bradford and some of the notes I was taking about him, and then Case Keenum, in the Minneapolis Miracle. Like, I got, like, I mean, if you saw my office right now, you'd be like, I'm ashamed. I can't even show it. It's so messy right now because I'm in, like, preseason, getting ready for preseason mode. So I got papers everywhere. I got notes. I got interview lists. I got, like, all kinds of crap. And my wife came in here the other day. She's like, if you want this glass door, you got to clean this up, because when people walk by the dining room to go to the kitchen, you can see the mess in here. And I'm in off-season mode. Like, I'll clean it up before the first preseason game. That's my goal, because by then all my notebooks should be set. I should have all my stats. I should have all my past stats. But I pass stat numbers, looking at Danielle Hunter, looking at Jonathan Gennard, Van Ginkel, going back to Everson Griffin. This defense has a chance to do something that is going to be similar. I'm not going to go crazy because they don't have the defensive line talent that team had, but I feel like they're going to be able to terrorize people the way the Purple People Eaters did. I feel like they have enough weapons to get after the quarterback now and stop the run aggressively. Like, when you think about Alan Page and some of the videos, you see him, like, just slinging guys, and Carl Eller grabbing guys with one hand and throwing them down. But also that was a different era. Those guys were like coal miners, smoking cigarettes in the locker room, like eating apple pie from their wife before the game. Like, it was just a different era now. Now guys are eating, kale salads and, orange slices and apple chips and, vegan diets. Like, it's not the same. You don't have the same aggressive cigarette smoke strength that they had in the 80s and 70s.
Correct.
But I will say, when I think about terrorizing a defense, it starts with the edge rushers. Everson Griffin had the voice and the scary presence. John Randle had the voice and the scary presence. I feel like Jonathan Allen might have that. Like, I feel like Jonathan Allen hates, like, being beat. Like, just talking to him about, because I talked to him about the viral moment, at the draft, and I was like, hey, like, we got to get him on here. I've been meaning to reach out to Blake Barrett about that. Just that moment. Like, hey, when you had that interview and you were just, he's like, look, man, he's like, I had people that were like just happy to go home and go have dinner. Like, we just got our butts kicked and everybody's talking about what they're doing at night. You're like, oh man, what club are you going to? What bar are you going to? Like, bro, we just lost the game. And he said he was fed up with that. Like, the mentality of, you're okay with losing. Like, you're still going to go out after we lost. That's what you need in your locker room. And that's why I'm excited to see what kind of energy he brings to the defense this offseason. And again, the Patriots, their defensive line is on here. And that means there's 2 weeks. They're 13th. That's a week of practicing with them and then getting them in the game where we get to see J.J. McCarthy and that offensive line handle a top 13 defensive line. So let's see how they really look. And let's see how the Vikings 15th or 16th defensive line looks attacking the Patriots, and can Stephon Diggs get open. So I'm looking forward to that. But we got the Daily 3 coming up next. Just 3 questions, been about a minute each today, and we'll do that after a quick pause. Well, now it's time for the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, about a minute and a half each today. Take it away, Sam.
Ron, you said you had some intel on this. The Dolphins traded Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to the Steelers for Minkah Fitzpatrick in a blockbuster deal. What's your reaction?
So the intel is, if you've been watching social media, you'd have to follow back. So do you know what's going on with the Steelers internally right now? Like, what the joke is?
Well, Aaron Rodgers joined the team, so there's probably a lot going on internally. What do you know about that?
So I'm gonna give you another hint. DK Metcalf.
Okay.
Jalen Ramsey. Still nothing. So you got to go to social media, Sam. Just put in Jalen Ramsey, DK Metcalf. You'll see the videos. I did not realize how much they hated each other. So DK Metcalf made a comment about Jalen Ramsey or something on a podcast. I think they said, like, is there anybody in the league that can stop you or something? And he was like, no. And they were like, not even Jalen Ramsey. And then whoever did the edit, it's a cool edit. They used that, and then they showed the next couple of games versus Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, because DK Metcalf does the sign language. I forgot what his thing is, but it says something like, you can't guard me or something, or you're too small or something. He signed it. So Jalen Ramsey did something to him and then did the baby thing. Like, you're a baby. I got you. I don't know the actual stat line, but DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey got into it. Like, he was telling him, like, you wanted all this, you got it now. Because, like, Jalen Ramsey must have heard the podcast, and then he got a chance to play him. And, like, in the game, like, after he broke up a pass, he's like, you wanted this, now you got it. What you gonna do? Again, this is football. Their teammates, not the private, but it is hilarious that you put those two in the, because first it was the George Pickens, DK Metcalf crash out kings. And they're like, both of these guys are willing to crash out. I don't know if they can be in the same atmosphere. But now you got a guy in Jalen Ramsey. So it's practice. They're probably going to have fun. He's going to make them better. You put Jalen Ramsey opposite of Joey Porter Jr. You get rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick. I thought that was dumb. But, you had to do what you had to do to get a lockdown corner. I think maybe they figured corner. They got Jonnu Smith. Again, another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, because I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers like, look, man, I need a tight end. You got to go get me somebody. Jonnu Smith was really good in that Titans back in Arthur Smith days with the Titans shift move defense or offense under Tannehill. And so Jonnu Smith, because I remember talking about him when they played the Vikings. I'm like, Jonnu Smith is good. Like, he moves well. So trying to get him weapons. But it's just funny, the Jalen Ramsey, like, DK Metcalf drama. It's almost like the Steelers are asking to be on Hard Knocks, because you have all this past drama. You got Aaron Rodgers, who's the king of drama. And then you put all this in a soup, and you hope it doesn't explode. And that's what I'm wondering what this team's going to be like. But my reaction when I saw that I think that's the Steelers saying, look, we got 1 year. Let's see if this is the year. Mike Tomlin's been been a winning coach every year. Can this be the year to win it again? Because he's won a Super Bowl. Can this be the year? But if we don't load up, we can't do it. So I don't know. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
I just immediately thought the Dolphins feel like they're as close as any team in the league to cleaning house. Like if things don't go well this year, Mike McDaniel out, Tua, if he can't stay healthy, I don't know what the future holds for him, but they've made a lot of big moves. Tyreek is a wild card. That organization hasn't been great. They can't win the playoffs. I think Miami's teetering right now. And this is another, like if this deal doesn't work out, and again, you give away a player like Jalen Ramsey, it might not work out.
Right.
Then I think the Dolphins are in some trouble. We've got the Commissioner's Cup tonight, the championship. Sort of it's the equivalent of the NBA in-season tournament. It's the Lynx hosting the Fever. We don't know for sure if Caitlin Clark is playing, but I'm sure tickets are off the charts, and fans will be upset if they pay that money and don't see Caitlin Clark. But who you got in the game?
Give me the Lynx. Lynx are a better team. I think Caitlin Clark is a great player, even with her healthy out there on the court. Sophie Cunningham is a bully. You got Lexi Hall. And so they're like Charlie's Angels out there, those three. But I don't see them being able to keep up with the Timberwolves. I heard Marnie Gellner make a call, the Stud Buds, because that's their podcast, the two guards for the Lynx. And one of them stole the ball, dribbled down the court, passed it to the other one. She knocked down a three, and Marnie Gellner's like, Stud Buds unite. I was like, whoa, what is going on? And so then I had to do some research. I was like, oh, okay, that's their actual podcast name. So I was like, whoa, Marnie, what are you doing here? But yeah, so I just think they have too many weapons. And Nafisa Collier, in my opinion, is one of the best players out there. And the Lynx are playing at a high level of basketball. Caitlin Clark is playing really well though. Like if she plays, she is every bit of like entertainment. She's embraced this villain role. Sophie Cunningham's embraced this like Dennis Rodman, I'm gonna protect my guard role. Lexi Hull as well is kind of in that protection piece where they're like, look, if you want to push our girl, we're gonna push yours. But yeah, I got the Lynx. Who do you have?
I've also got the Lynx. If Clark doesn't play, it could get ugly. I think they could win by a lot. If Clark does play, and I hope she does, I hope that we get to see that. I still take the Lynx, but I'm intrigued to see like if it's Fee matched up on Clark for a lot of that game or how they guard her. Yeah, definitely will be tuning in. Last one, we touched on it in segment one. Nah is gone. He went to Atlanta in a sign and trade, Ron. The NBA does that, a sign and trade. So the Wolves got a second round pick out of it as Nah goes to Atlanta in free agency. Are they going to regret not prioritizing Nah, Ron, and bringing him back, or also how do they fill that role off the bench?
Yeah, and for the people wondering, I want to make sure the Lynx fans, so you don't get mad at me, it's Courtney Williams and Natisha Heidemann are the Stud Buds. That's their Twitch stream, and they also have like looks like they stream every day at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which I'm not a Twitch person. Is that just video games? Are they just doing video games on Twitch, or
Boy,
they do other stuff?
I am not
too?
a Twitch person. It's just, it's a streaming platform. You talk to the camera while you're playing
video games. Yeah. So they play, I guess they play games on there. So yeah. So anyway, so that's their Twitch stream where they play games. And so, yeah, that's where Marnie Gellner got that from. Sorry. So back to Nah. Yeah. So are they going to regret it? I don't think so. Honestly, I think guys like Nah, he's not a glue guy. I don't feel like he's a guy that like, I would call Naz a glue guy. Like, I feel like Naz kind of keeps the team together. I feel like he's the glue guy. I think Jaden McDaniels is a glue guy. I don't feel like Nah was. I feel like Nah was just like the corner piece of a puzzle when you're doing a 5,000 piece puzzle, and you're like, who took the corner piece? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh, there it is. And you put it together and you finish it, and you're like, finally, I'm done. But if you don't have the corner piece, you still know what the puzzle looks like. And I feel like that's what Nah was. Like, he was a great defender. He can come in and give you big minutes. I just don't think they're going to regret it. I feel like if he wanted that much money and they couldn't afford it, this is what sports is about. It's about get the money when you can get it, because this is your life. Like, you want to be able to retire and sit back like Jeff Teague and all these other guys doing podcasts, Kenny and Martin, and Swaggy P, and just hang out all day. That's where I think, or be like Shaq, get in the business, go buy you a couple restaurants and make a shoot and put it in Walmart or something. Like, that's where I think this comes down to. Can Terrence Shannon Jr., DiVincenzo, I think DiVincenzo can pick up a lot of the minutes too. I think DiVincenzo gets a bigger role without there. So no, I don't think they're going to regret it. I think it's probably like, because they were boys, like Anthony Edwards and and McDaniels. Like, that's the part I think he'll miss, but I don't think they'll miss it on the court. What do you think?
I think they'll miss his defensive presence. I think you can find other shooting. I think that's common enough. I'm going to be banging this gavel for the next 5 months, Ron. Terrence Shannon. Terrence Shannon he can score at a much higher level than Nah if he gets those minutes. I mean, when Terrence is out there with Naz and a couple other that could be an offensive lineup. Everybody would be a threat. Also, a note, Ron, the cousin of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, according to Shams, has signed a 4-year, and you're going to drop dead at this number, $285 million Supermax extension.
Yep.
That is $70+ million per year for Shai.
Hey, it's a lesson for the kids out there. Be a free throw merchant. You got to get to the free throw line. Figure out how do you do it. Stop with the step back threes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's the one thing I love about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He didn't adopt the Steph Curry game. He didn't like when he started seeing Steph Curry blow up, he didn't say, let me shoot 55 3-pointers like Jordan Poole did. Like, Jordan Poole adopted the Steph Curry because he was there. So Shai's like, man, I'm getting to the basket. Like, I'm adopting the Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan gave somebody 39 points at this watch and had like 1 3-pointer. It was literally nothing but like mid-range and driving to the basket, getting and ones. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is like an old school player. He just gets new school calls. I think if you put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in an old school game, he still scores those points, but he's not getting to the free throw line. He definitely is a free throw merchant. I will say for Thunder fans, because they pointed this out to us numerous times on my own when I would tweet stuff during the games, the Timberwolves were getting more free throws than the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous, he's not shooting as many free throws as you guys think. You guys are overreacting. So there's a little bit to that too. The problem is the free throw merchant stuff just comes up. But that's a great deal. That's a great deal. Hey, Supermax that's one of the other reasons to try to stay with the team as long as possible. That is taking care of you, because if you are great, you have a chance to sign the Supermax deal. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is showing the benefits of not jumping teams, trying to make a better roster with another team. Stay with your team, and maybe it'll pay off for you.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm doing this because now the Thunder are starting to get expensive. Can't keep them all together forever.
Everybody.
But the
Chet Holmgren, I mean, like, what is he going to want? What are they going to pay Chet? Keep Chet.
You can't. It's a Harden, Westbrook, Durant situation. You probably can't keep all three.
But the
cap system's broken. Like, the cap system stinks if you have homegrown talent. And I know they didn't draft Shai. I know that. But if you have homegrown talent and you pay them more with the Supermax because they're, you're retaining them, but that hurts you against the cap, that's kind of a broken system. I don't love it.
Yeah, well, they learned. They got a championship out of it. They tried it with those three before, and they didn't get a championship out of it with Kevin Durant, Russell, and Harden. They got a championship out of this three. They're probably going to try to get one more or two, and then they're like, look, one of you guys got to go. We can't keep all three. Yep. But that'll do it for us today. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Looking forward to next week, people. But make sure you guys tell a friend that we're here. Man, tell people that we're here. We're trying to get our followers up on and subscribers up on YouTube. Go to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Also, again, when you see our videos, retweet them. When you see our Instagram videos, share them, like them, comment. Let us know what you guys think, and let us know what you guys think about. Do some research. Is the Vikings defensive line going to be a top 5 defensive line this season? Thank you guys for joining us, and have a great week.